Every day brings new reason to be skeptical. The investigation is on the level. From Peter Strzok to Lisa Page to Andrew Weissman to Bruce Orr, a number of members of this investigative team appear to be partisan Democrats. Well, they are, because 9 out of 15 of the investigators we know about have given money to the Democrats, to the Clintons. By the way, no matter how partisan you are, have you ever given money to a candidate? Probably not. Only a tiny percentage of Americans do, and it suggests a real commitment to the cause. I have political views. I've never given $1 to a politician. So what does it mean that 9 out of 15 have given money to Democratic politicians? Al Mortura is a lobbyist. He served on Hillary Clinton's finance team in 2016 and joins us now. Al, you've been in Washington for a long time, and you kind of know how it works. You're a partisan Democrat. That's fine. Does it bother you at all that this investigation seems to have a lot of people close to the heart of it who are actively partisan? Does that shake your faith a little bit in this investigation?
Not really. Look, Director Comey, who you talked about in the prior segment, he left. I think both the Democrats and the Republicans thought he should go. Yeah. And so if you have problems that need to be rooted out, one of the gentlemen you mentioned, Mr. Strzok, he's been reassigned. I think he works in HR now at the Department of Justice. So yeah. I have some faith that they're looking at these things and doing the right by them. Well,
Mueller did the right thing with Strzok. I don't think there's any doubt about it. But why hide? Because Strzok was at the very center of a lot of this stuff. He conducted the Mike Flynn interview, for example. He signed the original investigation order of the Russia-Trump collusion story. Right. But why would Mueller hide the fact that he had been demoted for months from Congress? And why won't the FBI answer a very simple question? Is he the one who revised Comey's speech about the Hillary Clinton investigation? Why not? What would be the point of not revealing that?
I mean, actually, I listened to your interview with Senator Johnson. I think all the facts should come out.
Yeah.
What's the problem with that? But I think Mueller runs a very tight ship. You haven't seen many leaks at all. And his view is, I don't know him, but his view is probably, I don't need to share information with these people right now, and I'm not going to.
Look, let's be totally honest here. At some point, Democrats are going to take control of a branch of government, because it's cyclical. It'll happen. And the FBI is not mostly liberals, actually. The career people, probably mostly pretty conservative. You know, I would argue that. So if you're setting a precedent now that the FBI can kind of do whatever it wants, and if they don't like you, they can crush you, and if they do like you, they let you off, are you comfortable with that standard?
I'm not comfortable with what you just said being the standard. I don't think that's what's actually happening. I think the facts will take us where they take us. And Bob Mueller's a patriot. He's a decorated Marine veteran. He received a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star. He's a guy who served our country with distinction in Vietnam.
So if you serve your country in Vietnam, I mean, I think Judge Roy Moore served in Vietnam.
He did. I was going further, which is to say he's a staunch Republican. He was appointed by George W. Bush. He was confirmed in a bipartisan way.
I don't care about any of that. I only care about is his behavior, and does it pass a simple fairness test, and I'm starting to wonder.
Look, again, the facts will take us where they take us. What Bob Mueller's trying to do is examine those facts and come to a conclusion. But nobody's going to be criminally prosecuted and proved guilty beyond a reasonable doubt because of bias. If those things actually happen with respect to individuals, either in this administration or some of these individuals who have pled, it's going to happen because the facts take us there.
Really? I used to believe that, and then I saw what happened to Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin, both of whom said, I believe to Peter Strzok in an FBI interview, that they were not aware of Hillary Clinton's private email server. And Cheryl Mills, I think, said she didn't know what an email server was. WikiLeaks released emails in which they discussed the private server. They lied. And they got off. They were not charged. Mike Flynn lied and was charged with a felony and pled to it. So there is selective prosecution, clearly. I mean, that's an example of it. Why wouldn't that make me nervous as an American?
But that happens all the time with prosecutors. I mean, they don't always chase everything down. They don't chase the jaywalker down all the time. I mean, so perhaps what you're saying is exactly right. I don't know all the facts, but that doesn't mean necessarily you shouldn't trust the institution. My concern with respect to that period of time is why did people like Rudy Giuliani and others seem to know that the FBI was about to come out with that second Comey letter? Were there leaks? Because Republicans like to talk about the leaks should be prosecuted.
I don't know.
They should be.
That's an entirely fair question. But you will concede that the FBI has, in a number of specific examples, acted out of political motive in investigations in the last couple of years. Democrats are saying nothing because it's achieving their ends. They're kind of happy with what's going on. It's hamstrung the administration completely. But when they take power at some point, how do you think they'll do against an FBI that has basically unlimited power and no oversight from Congress?
Again, I think that we have to focus on the facts.
Well, those are the facts.
You're suggesting that they're going to take facts, twist them, and enact an agenda that is partisan. I've not seen that. Again, Strzok removed, Comey fired. The current head of the FBI is President Trump's head of the FBI.
Yeah, he is.
The current deputy AG is President Trump's deputy AG, who just testified in Congress.
The president's in charge of the entire.
Who just testified that he believes
branch.
that that Mueller is totally credible and doing a good job.
Well, I guess we'll see. So let me ask you one final question. So the genesis of all of this was the claim that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russian government in order to alter the outcome of the American presidential election. It's a big charge. We've seen no evidence that that's true. If at the end of this investigation you see, I don't know, Paul Manafort and General Flynn go down on perjury charges,
right? But
there's no evidence at all of collusion, would it have been worth it?
Well, we had a president impeached, unfortunately, for perjuring himself, allegedly. So, you know, let's not belittle that.
Well, I am belittling it and saying, and including in the case of Bill Clinton, who should not have been impeached for lying. I'm not defending lying. I'm saying you shut down the federal government. You basically undo the will of the voters in the last election in the service of nothing. I don't know how you could defend that.
That's certainly what I think the Trump supporters believe and are hoping is the case.
No, but do you think that's the case?
I don't know. We don't know yet. We're at the tip of the iceberg.
But why aren't Democrats saying demanding evidence of collusion? Isn't that the whole point?
If Michael Flynn pled to this small charge, as you said, when he faced tens of years of jail time for other charges, there's something going on there. If Papadopoulos, who you didn't mention, promised to be a cooperating witness for months, we don't know what that cooperation will yield. Flynn's promised to be a cooperating witness. We don't know what that will yield. I still think we're at the tip of the iceberg here.
Maybe. And by the way, if there's ever evidence that the Trump campaign or administration colluded with the Russian government to subvert democracy, I'll be the first to denounce them. But I haven't seen in over a year of talking about this every single night a single piece of evidence of that.
And that's
I'm starting to worry.
That's because Bob Mueller's developing a story.
No, it was even before then. We'll see. Al, thank you.
Good to be with you.
The last couple of weeks have raised a number of legitimate questions about Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into Russian collusion. A number of members of the investigative team over there have been exposed as intense Democratic partisans. Now, President Trump's lawyers have accused Mueller's team of improperly seizing transition emails without bothering to supply a warrant or even a subpoena. They just took them. Mark Stein is an author and columnist, and he joins us now to put this in perspective. Mark, can you just take things?
Well, apparently you can if you're a so-called independent counsel. I mean, I should come the unassimilated foreigner with you here, Tucker, and say that I don't think there should be a 2.5-month transition between governments, which is unique to the United States in the developed world. And it makes no difference anyway, because the Democrats in the Senate slow walk everything. So here we are a year later, and all the deputy assistant deputy undersecretaries at every department are still all the Obama guys anyway. So if it's meant to give you time to staff the departments, it's a waste of time. But in this case, it's particularly relevant because the transition was used by the outgoing administration and the permanent bureaucracy to set up their destabilization of the incoming administration, the Trump administration. And I see no reason at all why a guy who is supposed to be investigating Russian interference in an election that took place on November the 8th should be able to seize effectively an incoming government's entire confidential communications between each other in the period after the election took place. That seems to me entirely unwarranted by Mueller.
You're aware that by saying that, you're putting this nation at risk. I was watching MSNBC this morning and learned that those who raise questions about the Mueller investigation are, this is almost a quote, inciting violence in the streets, delegitimizing the U.S. government, maybe precipitating a coup. I mean, do you feel uncomfortable with your criticism because it's wrong to criticize the government?
No, because it's Mueller and the whole independent counsel that is designed to delegitimize the institutions of government, starting with the president. By the way, while we're at it, Mueller is the last guy on the planet who should be an independent counsel, because he's not independent of anything. He used to work for Paul Manafort's former law firm. He's connected with everybody. Ever since he was appointed, for the last 6 months, I've sat and watched Fox, and I watched MSNBC, and watched CNN and all the others, and an endless parade of Beltway insiders saying, well, I've known Bob Mueller since 1972, and you couldn't find a straighter arrow. He's an Eagle Scout. And that's exactly why, whether or not that's true, that's exactly why he shouldn't be independent counsel. He's not independent. He's the insider's insider. But just to go back to that point about destabilizing everything here, Tucker, if you take MSNBC at their word that this guy is a straight shooter doing a credible job, for it to carry conviction, if you're going to investigate the guy who won the election according to the rules of the election, you better be seen to do it in as clean a way as possible. You don't do it by appointing psychologically weird people who think they're somehow top super secret agents who've been put on earth to save the Republic, like this Strzok guy. You don't do it by involving people whose wives work for Hillary Clinton's Oppo research team. You don't do it by hiring people who went to Hillary Clinton's non-victory party on November the 8th. Not everything that Mueller has done discredits his own reputation and discredits his own investigation.
So by my count, you've got 9 out of 15 investigators so far having donated to Democratic politicians, to the Clintons. Now, I've got pretty strong political views, very strong. I talk about them every night on TV. I've never donated a single dollar to any politician because my views aren't strong enough to warrant a donation. So if you've got people who are so spun up about politics, they're giving money to specific candidates, investigating a guy on the other side, why shouldn't that at least raise the question, what the hell is going on?
Well, exactly, because look at it this way. Mueller can't win now. In fact, the country can't. The tragedy is that the country can't win. Let's say that Mueller finds Trump guilty of something. Half the country, the half of the country that voted for Trump, is going to say, this is ridiculous. A bunch of people who were Hillary donors, who went to Hillary's parties, who worked for Hillary's Oppo research team, who were having Hillary fans who were having illicit affairs because they loved Hillary so much, it turned them on so much. As you pointed out, those tweets and texts between Strzok and his lover, you know, it sounds like John le Carre rewritten by Teen Beat. It's completely preposterous. But the half of the country that voted for Trump won't accept a verdict against him. Likewise, the other half will not accept, if Mueller exonerates Trump, they'll say, oh, well, that's just because the Republicans demonized him and trashed him. Mueller's killed the whole point of this investigation.
You're exactly right. The whole point of independent counsel investigations is to reassure us it's on the level. Mark, thank you for that, as always.
Thanks a lot.